Welcome to ¿Qué pasa? HSIs, a podcast dedicated to everything Hispanic serving institutions. I'm your host, Dr. Gina Ann Garcia, bringing you the news on what's happening in HSIs. Join us as we explore the history and evolution of HSIs, culturally relevant and liberatory practices, current and emerging research with HSIs, and the policies that shape servingness.
Saludos HSI familia and welcome back to ¿Qué pasa? HSIs. On today's episode, we are talking about HSI emergence, which I think is one of the most important topics in the HSI world. According to Excellencia in Education, there are 412 emerging HSIs, which are those campuses that enroll between 15 and 24% Latine students. But in reality, the 600 institutions that have already reached 25% Hispanic enrollment are emerging too. Let me say that again. All HSIs are emerging into HSI-ness. Since HSI is an enrollment-only political construct, reaching 25% doesn't mean you have arrived as a truly Latine serving institution. I think most of y'all listening agree, but I have to say it louder for the people in the back. So what does emergence mean? I think it's the intentionality that goes into this work. Emergence means that the campus is actively working to recruit and retain Latine students, recruit and retain faculty of color, and recruit and retain educators and leaders who want to see Latine students succeed and thrive. I visit many HSIs that have 25% or more Latine students and many emerging HSIs that are working towards the 25%. And in most cases, HSIs and eHSIs are doing very similar things. They are becoming HSI minded. They're reading HSI books and HSI research. They're attending the ASI conference and, of course, listening to ¿Qué pasa? HSIs. They are engaging in the campus community and conversations about servingness and what that means for their campus. They are working towards the seal of excellencia and launching HSI committees. In some cases, faculty are getting involved, attending training with Escala Educational Services, transforming their general education requirements, and approving liberation and social justice as institutional learning outcomes. Those are my favorite, of course. I'm not making this stuff up. It really is happening, and we get to talk about it here on ¿Qué pasa? HSIs. And in many instances, I see emerging HSIs working harder, more intentionally, and with joy. Yeah, I said it, and I'll say it again. Emerging HSIs are more passionate and more focused on servingness than many of the already eligible HSIs. I mean, have you listened to the episode of ¿Qué pasa? HSIs with CSU San Luis Obispo? Wow, that episode will give you the energy you need to wake up and work towards servingness. Did you hear the episode with Elizabeth Gonzalez at UCLA where she talked about her intentionality engaging with students and passionate leaders on campus to move the campus towards transformation? What about the episode with Sandy Lopez at Northern Illinois University, where she talked about her work across campus to build an HSI movement? And of course, my friends in Wisconsin, Jackie Black and Alberto Maldonado, who were on season 4 talking about the HSI Network of Wisconsin, which is a group of emerging HSI leaders who are working towards collective action and servingness in Wisconsin. Emergingness is a thing, and today we're going to talk about it. Today, I'm talking to Dr. Sara Mata, who is the Executive Director of Hispanic Serving Initiatives at Wichita State University in Wichita, Kansas. Dr. Mata is a proud first-generation and community college graduate. At the core of her approach to servingness, she advocates for institutional change, culturally relevant approaches and practices, and the inclusion of community engagement in supporting students and familias. Sara currently serves as executive committee for the NASPA Administrators in Student Affairs Foundation's board as board chair-elect, serves on the board for the NASPA Center for Women, and was a 2022-2023 HACU, La Academia de Liderazgo Fellow. Joining Dr. Mata are 2 students who have been instrumental in implementing HSI initiatives at Wichita State. Valeria Paunetto, who is from Puerto Rico and currently a senior studying social work at Wichita State University with an emphasis in higher education. And Dimas Gonzalez, who is a sophomore at Wichita State, majoring in social work and wanting to pursue a graduate program in higher education. Dimas is also a McNair scholar and a NASPA NUF undergraduate fellow. We're excited to have y'all today on ¿Qué pasa? HSIs and to learn about what's up in Kansas. little background, I did visit Kansas. I did get to visit the emerging HSIs in the area, and I was like, what's going on in Kansas? But I can say there's a whole movement. So that's why I brought them on the show today, because I really want us to talk about when there's places across the country that are doing this work really intentionally, and places we wouldn't necessarily think about it going on, like in Kansas. So Sara, Valeria, and Dimas, welcome to Que Pasa HSIs, where we talk about all things HSIs. But first, let's talk about what brings you into HSI work. So we'll start with the servingness journey, and we'll start with Dr. Mata. If you could tell us a little bit about your journey.
Gracias, Dr. Garcia. It's a pleasure to be here, and just a dream. Thank you so much for the invitation and helping us put Kansas on the map. So I actually grew up here in a small town on the border of Kansas and Oklahoma. I was kind of an average student. Wasn't necessarily encouraged to pursue anything beyond high school, but I had a high school art teacher who entered one of my pieces into an art contest, which won me a scholarship to the community college. I had no idea what that meant. I just know when somebody gives you something, you take advantage of it and you make the most of it. And so I did. I worked for about 5 years with my associate's degree as a graphic designer before I was encouraged to go back to school. And ultimately, I obtained all of my degrees as a non-traditional student, working full-time, and had moved to Oklahoma at that point. So I've always believed in wanting to save the world, I think, in some capacity. So I started actually working as a counselor and working in the community with adolescents who'd been in trouble with the law and their parents who've had their children taken from them. And it was really hard. It was really hard work. And so I wanted to be more preventative. And so my thoughts were education is the key. And how can I help these young people to think about that more intentionally? And so I started my journey working in higher education under the inaugural vice president for diversity and inclusion. And so I had no idea what inclusion necessarily meant. And that was back in the early 2000s. And it was brand new. And so we really were able to do some instrumental work. And I saw how being able to be intentional about the work was really encouraging. My mentor, who was also my VP, really was making sure that we're involved in like professional development. So I got to go to conferences. I had no idea. Being able to be in community with people who look like me was life-changing. And so I was able to get involved with NASPA, so the Student Affairs Administrators in Higher Education. It was the Latinx AO knowledge community who became my family. And so I will forever be able to thank them for helping me to foster my cultural identity and really being able to see how it can benefit me rather than it be something that I was not encouraged to really express or enjoy. And so journey has taken me to a variety of different universities, and primarily here in the middle of the United States. And so my HSI journey, I would say, very intentional to want to be in this work and be able to give to my community more specifically. But I learned early on that just because you're an HSI does not mean you are doing the work and invested in being an HSI. And so when you learn your fit and where you don't fit, it's very telling. And so that led me to a variety of different places. And I'm really glad to say it's been an incredible journey. And I'm happy to be currently at Wichita State University.
Awesome. Thank you. Dimas, come to the microphone. Tell us a little bit about your servingness journey.
So my servingness journey started at community college. I was about to finish up my associates, but of course, COVID came. And at the community college where I was at, I didn't see a lot of myself in the students and faculty working at that university. So I felt isolated. I felt like I was alone. Like I didn't see representation. I didn't see people who looked like me. So I was given the opportunity to join the summer bridge program at Herencia because I was talking to one of the people at the time who was also helping run at Herencia that I wanted to transfer to Wichita State. And they said, "Oh, well, we're doing the summer bridge program where you get to live on campus for a week, you get to take college level courses, and you get to meet some of the Hispanic faculty here on campus already." So I was like, "Okay, this sounds like a really good opportunity to get my foot in the door, learn more about campus, learn more about the Hispanic faculty on campus, and create a connection that I didn't have at my previous community college." So I joined Herencia, and that's where I met Dr. Mata. And uh, first, we obviously had to sign in, do everything, do all the fabulous work. And I remember we were having dinner, and she sat next to the table where me and my friend were sitting, and I didn't even give her a chance to sit down, open her water bottle. When I told her, I was like, I want to help you. I want to work with you. I want to be in this space. I want to continue to help Hispanic students, And she said, okay, well, are you coming to Wichita State? I'm like, hey, in the spring. How can I continue the work that you're doing? Like, what can I do to participate in this and make this grow on a bigger scale? And so she talked to me, she connected me with some people that would help me make my transition from community college to a university a lot smoother. And she connected me with people in financial aid, she connected me with people in housing, and she kind of gave me the boost and the energy and that I needed to lock into what I wanted to do with my career, because I always knew that I wanted to help, I wanted to work in the community. So that's where my social work degree came in, where I wanted to get a bachelor's in social work. But as I continued to work with Dr. Mata, it became so much clear. It became clear for me that I wanted to go into higher ed. I wanted to work in HSI. I wanted to continue to help the Latino community. So just really working with Dr. Mata really helped solidify that you're meant to be here. And thanks to the help of Dr. Mata, I've been able to go into the community, go into high schools in the district, and kind of give those students a representation that I didn't have when I was going to filling senior year, filling out applications, doing scholarships. And so thanks to her, I started my servingness journey.
Yes. Oh, I love to hear it. Absolutely. Always good to know of our higher ed folks on campus that are bringing students into this work. I was a student affairs professional
Mhm.
before becoming a professor, so it always warms my heart to hear those stories because, like, yeah, we have such a make a big difference, right, on students'
Yeah,
lives.
and
So,
then oh, sorry.
go ahead, go
She
ahead.
introduced me to Haku. She was like, "Oh, you have to go to Haku.
Mhm.
Once you go to," I'm like, "You think we're a lot of Hispanics here? Just wait till you go to Haku. You're gonna meet professional students from all over the United States who are doing the work, who are involved in HSI."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it was my first Haku experience this last semester in October, end of October. Went with me, and I had told her, I was like, "Oh my God, girl, like." I did not think the first day of How Could They announced it was like 800 students or something. And I was like, that's crazy. I never thought I'd be in a
Mhm.
space where I could see so much representation, so much people from Latino backgrounds from all over the different states.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good. I'm glad that you have entered those spaces that I know you're gonna go to ASI, and
Yes,
that's
yes,
another
yes, yes.
space where you'll just get to your cultural cup will get filled, like,
Mhm.
at ASI, right? It's a place where you will leave feeling, like, fulfilled and a lot of joy, right, around cultura, so that's awesome. Alright, let's hear from Valeria. Let's hear about your servingness journey.
I think that influenced a lot of what I do now. I was never an involved student. I literally was like, I'm just gonna go to school, do my work, and come back. And then I basically became an Adelante scholar. So Adelante, the Shocker Adelante scholarship here at Wichita State University is a scholarship for Black and Brown students. And I had applied, and it's a scholarship that pretty much covers all of your tuition. And I applied, and I had received it in the mail, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna get it. Like, these scholarships are for students who take like AP classes, honors classes in high school, and I was none of that in high school. So, but I filled it out because my parents had a big role, played a big role in telling me, like, fill it out, you're gonna be able to do it. You never know. So I filled it out, and I ended up getting it. And I was so happy. I was like, I did not know that I was going to get that scholarship, and it made everything a reality. And through my scholarship, I was able to get involved at Wichita State University completely. And my journey started with working as a diversity intern in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion here at Wichita State University. And I hit the ground running. I got involved with anything and everything that I saw. I was like, I'm going to become a facilitator for these programs. I'm going to help. I'm going to get involved. And I've been involved in a lot of things since my freshman year. I'm a senior now. And that basically has shaped the way for me to become the student leader I am today. I got involved with student government, everything and anything under the sun. And then obviously Sara came in about, I think, end of my sophomore year. And that's when I met her and I was able to connect a lot with her and for her to become my mentor. And we took one trip to Haku and it changed everything. And that basically has set my trajectory for me to be a professional in higher education, but also specifically work with the Hispanic population here on not only on our campus, but in the future, wherever I go. I think going to a predominantly white high school really changed my view that the absence of my culture and my people really resonated with me. And I was like, wow, this is something that students need to hold on to in order to go through these experiences. Because if you don't know who you are and what your identity is, how are you going to go through experiences like this? And so that has kind of shaped how I have viewed my journey and how I've ended up in really loving the work that I do in HSI.
Awesome. I love it. Y'all are our future higher ed practitioners and scholars, and love to have student voices on here, especially with so much energy, right? Like y'all, I can feel the energy, right? Like this is what we want to do. And I remember that. I remember when I was like, what? You can stay in higher ed forever?
Yeah.
Right? Valeria, I was like you. I was like involved in everything,
Yeah.
right? Like just everything and anything. And there's those of us that want to just do this forever, right? And I love to hear it and love to hear that y'all are on that journey and y'all are going to be the future folks changing institutions, because that's what we're doing, right? We are changing institutions to be better for our Latina students. So let's talk about that. I want to talk about Wichita State University as an emerging HSI. Wichita State has seen a steady increase in the number of Latina students enrolling, reaching 18.3% by 2024. So let's talk about the process of becoming, right? This idea of becoming HSI is a process, right? That we have to go through a process. You don't just overnight become HSI just because you have 25%, but the work that you do is part of the becoming process. So Sara, go ahead and tell us, what was the impetus for becoming an HSI and what are some of the accomplishments y'all have made?
So I'll start off by saying, as the students mentioned, we go to Haku, right? And so they'll introduce themselves, we're Wichita State, we're in Kansas, and then people will be like, what? There are Latinos in Kansas,
Yeah.
right? So it becomes a joke.
I said that.
It becomes a joke, but the reality is there are Latinos. I am fourth, fifth generation American here and from the state of Kansas. And I'm very proud of that. I don't think that I can always say that that's been the case, but there is this interesting merging of populations, right? So as we see, the demographics have changed drastically and will continue to change. We actually had a previous president who did this, had somebody on campus who did this like a demographic demonstration and said, you need to be paying attention to the Hispanic population because they're going to be the majority by 2060. And we're there, we're on our way. And so our president currently, President Muma, is intentional about this work and he supports all the things that we're doing and is very strong about becoming an HSI by 2030. And the demographics don't lie, right? We know that because of the changes, Kansas was built on the backs of our brown community related to the railroad systems and our meat packing plants and our agriculture. And there's part of Kansas in the western part that was part of Mexico before it was anything else. And so being able to think about where we're situated and how it makes a difference, right? Anybody who does emerging work, we were not built for our Hispanic students, and neither was our state in reality, but I don't think that we can deny that the demographics are what they are. And so that has been really the driving force for how and why we've been able to do this work. And I could say, I had to give you credit. As you mentioned, you were able to come. So next week will be my third year anniversary, and you came 2 days after I started.
Yes.
So actually, I owe so much credit to you because you were able to give a voice that me just coming in, being able to say, hey, we should be doing this,
Mhm.
would have never had the same kind of clout. And so having you on campus, having you to be able to talk about what is HSI, the person who wrote the book about HSIs, right? And becoming HSIs
Literally.
literally. And that really, you set me up to be like a great quarterback, right? To be able to do this work and really
Aw.
have people paying attention and really wanting to be committed to the work that we're doing. And so the having that as the main kind of framework contributed to all the individuals who I was able to now collaborate with and have a network and connect with across campus, that it wasn't just little me coming in and, oh, she's cute, she's doing that stuff over there. But they were on board because they knew what we were trying to do and really
Mhm.
understanding that these demographic changes translate to revenue, translate to all the things that HSIs can potentially bring. But my work in the role that I'm doing is very much like I'm not bringing the students to help to bring those numbers up until I know what we're doing as a university is going to make an impact to do all the things that you mentioned in the very beginning. The retention rates, the graduation rates, the serving piece, all of that is what my lens looks at what we're doing here at the university.
Yes. Oh, yes. Wow, 3 years already?
Yes.
I didn't realize it had been that long. Yes. And we did it in collaboration with 2 other campuses, right? Was it 2 other
Three,
campuses?
three.
3 other campuses. Yeah, which was really powerful. Like to see that y'all had come together as a community. I love that, right? Like, and it usually is in those emerging areas. I talked about Wisconsin, same thing. Wisconsin is like they have been a collective for years and building together, right? Which is, I think, so important to say, especially in this time right now, this really contentious political time of like, we need to be in community. We need to be together. We need to be in solidarity because that's the power is going to be in our numbers, right? We cannot be fighting with other institutions for funding or for resources or whatever it may be. We actually need to be fighting together, right? Fighting against the larger power. So that was a really cool visit when I went there because I saw it was a collective, right? And it was the whole region that was like moving towards serving us, really.
And I think just to add to that, as an emerging HSI and all of the other emerging HSIs that are around, we're not federally funded, right? It shows that the
Mm-hmm.
university is invested in this work way before the fundings come in. Because as you mentioned before, as HSIs, I've met people at HSIs, they've been an HSI for 30 years and are not even to the point of where we are now. And so that really makes me feel proud of what we've been able to accomplish because it's not because we have the funds, it's because our university has supported our initiatives.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah. Thank you for saying that. Cause I said that for a reason. Cause I'm like, I see way more work going on in the emerging spaces where we're like trying to do this before we even get to the 25. And there are literally campuses that have been HSIs eligible for 30 years and haven't done any of the work. They haven't even read the book. They haven't even invited me to campus, right? We continue to sort of navigate and we are sort of waiting to see what the federal government, whether or not they're going to attack this designation, right? Does it fall under their anti-DEI designation? I don't know. It's hard to tell the way they're thinking and it's hard to tell what's going to happen from day to day, right? But regardless, at the end of the day, you're enrolling, these are your students and you've got to do the work, right? Without funding, even without the funding, you're gonna do the work, and there's good ways to do that, which is what we're going to talk about, right? We're going to talk about some of the strategies y'all have used to move towards servingness.
We have to be in line with everything that the university is saying. You're talking about research. How are we helping to promote more of our students, particular students of color, to be McNairs, be involved in research, having those opportunities of we're currently a research 2 institution. We want to become a research 1. That's not going to change until we get more doctoral students in some of these programs and making sure that we're reaching those students who historically have not been in our graduate programs. It's really important. And, thinking about how we're doing this work intentionally, we have 5 areas that we are looking at: the schools, the staff, the faculty, community, and then also like alumni and those connections. Obviously, following everything that you talk about within the HSI framework, but being intentional about how this is in line with what our university is saying that they're committed to doing. And we're just adding a lens with HSI. And as I mentioned, coming in and having a really strong support system and by the administration from the top was important because it connected me to my strategic plan committee was all through affairs who were working with students firsthand as advisors who were part of the conversation. So it wasn't that it was taking their areas that they're invested in and how can we help to bring HSI into that work. And so it was a labor of love, and we had students, and Valeria and Dimas were both a part of that in contributing to the conversations. Like, what does servingness look like to you at Wichita State University? I know one of Valeria's first projects, I think, was right before serving our students.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the idea of a strategic plan and bringing folks in across the campus, right? That is such an important strategy. We could go back to season 1 of Que Pasa HSIs, where I would say Marla Franco, right? All of us, the queen, who we all look up to.
La reina.
Exactly, literally. So we like can look to her for guidance. She's like our North Star, right? And she's talked about relationship building, right? That like you got to bring people in. You got to bring people. You cannot just do this work on your own, right?
Secret
and you
sauce.
said that, right?
She says it's a secret sauce every time.
It's the secret sauce. You have to bring people in, right? You can't do this on your own. I'm at an emerging HSI and I'm like trying to get my committee to like, all right, we're going to go out and we're going to build the movement. So like our new assignment is like, go find friends who want to be a part of this, right? Because this isn't enough, right? We're a massive campus. How do we get more people, right? Because it really is that's such an important piece is getting those key folks on campus, right? To be a part of the strategy. So I love it. I love that y'all are doing that, right? So Valeria and Dimas, let's bring your voices in. Particularly, I love to hear the student voices, right? So tell us about your experience as students engaging in some of this HSI work. You know, you talked already about how you got involved, but maybe some of the things that you've accomplished along the way. So Dimas, let's start with you.
Yeah, so for me, we've made it one of our missions to just go to as many community events that as we can. We've increased our team this semester, so just getting our name out there, getting the name of the office, the HSI initiatives office name out there. We try to go to a lot of events on campus as well, make our name known around campus that we are here to support our Latino students and anybody else in between who needs help. So yeah, I've also gone to high schools here in our district just to get our name out there to support students who don't know that this is an initiative that's increasing,
Yeah.
who don't know what a HSI is, who've never heard that word before. So just creating awareness for our office and for the initiative as a whole is how we've tried to get our name out there and create a name for the HSI office here at Wichita State.
I think
Yeah, for sure.
I think going back to like one of the points that Sara made, like right before she was getting here, and even before we brought you in for your talk to Newman and Wichita State, we made that kind of partnership. What we ended up doing was that I kind of created a group with other student leaders of kind of how is it that we are listening to our students, what is missing, right? Because we would see a lot of these students that we would be student leaders and we would do the work, but we wouldn't see the university doing anything. And obviously, we were growing as one of the most growing minorities on campus. And so we were like, what are we going to do about this, right? Because you can, right, say that you're an HSI or you're an emerging HSI, but how it has been discussed, you can't really do that if you're not doing the servingness part of it. And so kind of that's where it kind of all started. And then Sara came on and we had this Herencia for us. Our Herencia Bridge Summer Program was kind of a dream for us because we were just talking about it and we were like, you know, we're going to have this pitch, but we don't know the probability of this happening. It's a summer bridge program for just Hispanic students. And we're wanting to basically teach them about their culture, teach them about their identity, but also how is it that we're going to prepare them for college? right? They don't have
Mhm.
WSU in order to go through the program, but they're going to use this anywhere they go. We made it Herencia, and we're now planning our 3rd year of it, and has been great. And obviously, like Dimas, he went to the program, and he great product, honestly.
Okay.
I'm the poster boy of Herencia.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
But besides Herencia, what we have really developed with kind of to what Dimas was talking about is that we created an initiative called Somos Shockers. So Somos Shockers means that we are shockers, and under that umbrella is that everything will fall with Herencia and all other programming that we create in the future. And our team of us students, besides me and Dimas, we are all Somos Shockers. And so we want to encourage and empower our students to know that the work doesn't just stop with us, but it also keeps going on with them. And for something to be here in the future, for them to be like, we're here to stay. And our programming, anything that we do in the future is going to fall under Somos Shockers. And so, and for also students who see us in the community, when they go out and in the community and they see us at the high schools and community events, to know kind of like, oh wow, like they're here, and I can be that person one day. I can be in that group, and I can be the one to, I kind of like saying this lately, is that you have to lift as you climb. And so
Yeah. Awesome. So I assume Shockers is your mascot?
Yes.
yes, so our mascot is he's a
It's supposed to be a shock of wheat.
shock of wheat. Yes.
If you were to see our mascot, you would think, what is that?
You'd be a little bit confused. But because of that, we're all called shockers. So that's kind of like our thing.
Okay. Is it a Kansas thing?
It's a
Wheat is one of wheat is like one of our biggest agricultural like products, and so that's what we were initially named for. And so we had students come from Mexico State last summer and do a whole program where they did research, and they were, for the longest time, they're like, what is a shocker? And so we were trying to figure out like how to, but it's like, if you look at the mascot, it's like a bundle of wheat. They thought like hay bales were the shockers, but those are not shockers. But it's like a bundle of wheat. And I don't have a picture of Lou in front of me, otherwise I would show.
I'm gonna have to find a picture and link it in the show notes for anybody that's wondering. This is new for me.
But
I love the idea. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, that's kind of like what we do, and how is it that it's important for us to do the work that we do. We love interacting with our students, and it has been, I think I become a little bit more emotional about it just as I'm exiting, and I'm a senior, I'm gonna graduate, and it kind of like all started from us having conversations to now, like, we have an office on campus. And so which is crazy to me, but it's true. I want to let students know, like, we're here on campus, and the work keeps being there because of them. Like, we're here to serve them and not the other way around.
Yes, for sure. Okay, I love it. I would love to just talk a little bit more about the Herencia program. It's a summer bridge program, right?
Yes.
And I want to ask Sara about, you did mention we're doing this work without this federal funding, because that's like a program, like a signature program that like an HSI grant would come in and fund, right? So how did you get support on campus to start this program?
This is so funny.
Everybody asked that question because Valeria actually did her McNair research on the effectiveness of the summer bridge program, and every time she presents about it, they're like, "How'd you get that funding?"
Yes, how'd you get the funding?
So I would say two things. So as I said, coming in, the institution was, they're supporting my position. They're supporting the work that we're doing. So it has been all institutionally funded. We do have some great collaborators / allies / partners in crime, I guess you could say, that are philanthropy focused, that contribute to Wichita State University. So as Valeria mentioned, she's an Adelante scholar. We have a couple who give to the university, who are vested in everything HSI and helping to support our students, primarily students of color, primarily students from underrepresented populations. And they have been instrumental in everything that we do with HSI and contributing to financially to support this program. I will say that we are very frugal, and have managed to do the Herencia program in a very decent budget. And I would love to share anybody who has interest in wanting to know our summer bridge program, but some things. So as I mentioned, I grew right on the border of Oklahoma. I was 3 miles from a boarding school. There was tribal communities who were surrounded, and my experience working with the indigenous community really taught me the importance of preserving culture and identity and language. And so I didn't have that as I was growing up, right? I think we grow up in these spaces that are very, very different than California and Texas, and assimilation is part of even how we work, right? And so for me, being able to see how important it is to preserve the beauty of the communities and the language. And we want to do that for our young people. So Herencia was born out of those concepts. So our students have 5 college credits they get for free. They're students who are going to be seniors in their fall semester and seniors in high school. They have part of the criteria is they're native heritage speakers. We want students who come to us who have some understanding of Spanish, but we want them to feel that that's their superpower, that being bilingual is something that is going to be really important. And we want them to be able to, no matter what career, even if they don't go to college or university, how can you use those skills to be able to do any of the work that you want to do? Mechanic, you want to be a physician, anything. We want you to be able to have a better understanding of how you can utilize your Spanish skills. The second, as I mentioned, we're assimilated so much. And I think it took me leaving to come back to be able to be like, we got to break this down. And helping our students to have that pride in who they are and where they come from, and understanding their culture, understanding that is going to be, when you're in those spaces where you are surrounded by people who don't look like you and who don't understand you, but if you are comfortable in who you are in your skin, no matter what color it is, we want you to have that pride. And so we spend a lot of our curriculum around the history of why are there so many Latinos in Kansas? What's happening at the border that's impacting us specifically? And how have we, as the United States of America, contributed to some of those issues? And how, as we as an individual, come to terms with our identity in ways that we've never done before. We teach them about, we're so close to Denver, and Denver had a really strong Chicano movement. It bled over to here in Wichita, Kansas, and we would have like Corky Gonzalez and all of these people who were doing this work. And students don't know this history. Students have never had that experience and exposure. And so we want to make sure that, very different from any other summer bridge program that I'm aware of. Yes, we need science, we need math, we need reading, but we feel like the 2 investments in this program of culture, identity, and language, those are 3, but the 2 classes in those particular areas are really what's going to help our younger generation to flourish. And again, in spaces and times we're in currently, where I feel like so many people are wanting to hide under a rock anytime DEI is talked about, we want to help to empower our students to be fueled and be angry, and to want to make sure that people understand that their culture and identity is not something to be ashamed of.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. So Valeria, not to put you on the spot or anything, but like, what'd you find in your, research? I'm a researcher. You said research. I was in.
Yes.
Did you find valuable things to support the program?
Yes. So I think something interesting that Sara was talking about was how, like, our students don't see themselves in these spaces. They see a lot of barriers to it. How is it that they see themselves in the spaces as well? So when we finished at NCA, I had just become a McNair Scholar, and which I was telling Sara, like, I can't be a McNair Scholar, like, like I can't do it. And so I ended up applying, and it has been
She applied
really
late. She didn't hear me the first time.
But I followed what Sara told me, and I was like, you know what? I need to say whatever this woman is telling me to do, because I know it's going to be beneficial for me. So I ended up applying, and they were like, you need a research topic. It's completely optional, but I was just completely taken by it. I was like, of course I want to do research. That sounds so interesting. So I was like, I'm going to do research over at NCA and what the effectiveness. So I did a focus group with the first cohort ever of Dimas was in that cohort, and I ended up asking them kind of like questions that were gonna encompass their experience. Something that I would have wished before telling results, something I wish I would have through a high school education, just because I would have known then, like, where were they going, and I could have added all of that into my research, right? But still, I don't regret it because I still had amazing conversations, and what I thought was going to end up being a 1 hour focus group ended up being almost 4 hours with just 5 questions that I asked them. And so we had answered was encompassed in 4 themes. So the first theme was access to higher education. A lot of the students who were explaining their experience with higher education was that they didn't see themselves in that space. So basically, all of them touched a little bit on that. They were like, I did not see myself in this space. I did not think that I was welcomed in this space. I did not see people in this space until they joined Herencia. And so that was that was my first theme. My second theme was awareness in their cultural identity. So a lot of them, I had a student who I actually put this quote on my poster when I finished my research. He said that he did not care to see himself in the space of higher education or his identity until after he went through Herencia. So they didn't really think about, they saw themselves in this space as, oh, we're just Americans in this space, and not thinking about their identity and basically the history of their family, their ancestors, all of that stuff. They didn't think about any of that until after they went through the program. And how is it that I talk with a lot of them now that came here to Wichita State, and they're so proud about, they tell me, they're like, every chance I get, I talk Spanish wherever I can, like with my family. The importance of being connected to your language as well, that speaks volumes. So I thought that was really interesting. And then theme 3 was linguistic capital. So right, going into the language part of it, they, within the 5 credits that they get for Herencia, they are able to take a Spanish immersive class, basically, and they practice their Spanish. And some of them find it challenging. You can see they find it challenging during the week, but when the week is over, they're like, wow, like, I needed that. Like, I didn't know that I would fall in love so much with my own language, right? And how powerful, and how basically it's a superpower, right? Now, isn't that a lot? We have this part, it'll go into my theme 4, but a lot of them were talking about how they didn't know that they could use that in their workspace. No matter where they want to go, right? If they want to be educators, if they want to do whatever they want, they didn't know that they could use that as a superpower to communicate with our own community. So, and that goes into my final and 4th theme, which was community. So a big thing that we do that I love, I think this is probably my favorite part of the program, is that I invite student organizations outside of the community that are Hispanic, and also I invite Hispanic leaders. And we do a big cookout, and we just put them all together in a room, and we're like, we present whoever is there, and we're like, these people are in the community doing the work. Like, it is important for you to connect with them, have a conversation with them, talk about whatever you want with them. Doesn't matter what it is, right? But a lot of students have like an aha moment, because like my first theme was they didn't see themselves in those spaces in higher education or anywhere. So when you put them all together in a room during this week of people that look like them and have in different careers as well, because we try to have a variety of people that are coming from different areas. They're like, wow, I didn't know that those leaders were in my community, right? And they're like, I don't know, 2-3 streets away from them in the Hispanic community, right? Doing the work. I didn't know that, wow, I could see myself in that space, and I can do that and more. It doesn't have to be that, but I can, sky is the limit. So a lot of them after that were like, wow, I didn't know that I could do all these things. And so, to kind of wrap it up, but my results ended up encompassing in those 4 main concepts that I was very, very happy about, because you can not only see it in there, right, what they tell you, but these students are here on our campus doing the work, becoming engineers, becoming nurses, being in those spaces and being like, I could see myself in those spaces, and the people that come after me are going to see me in those spaces as well. So I loved it, and I want to keep the data for what I do, not only that first year, but the second year, the third year, the fourth year, and how is it that students feel, and maybe if there's any difference. So
Okay, doctora, I asked you to tell me about your research and you went just like right in.
yes, yes.
You didn't even hesitate, okay? I love it, love it, love it. It was also for me. Anybody that knows me, I'm gonna politicize everything, right? It was an important moment for you to tell us about what came out of this program, because there are people that are attacking these kind of programs, right? Obviously, the anti DEI movement is to say that there shouldn't be spaces like this, right, where people get to think about their culture, their cultura, their language, their ancestors, and you just told us that that absolutely mattered, right? It 100% matters.
Mhm.
And we need to say it over and over again, say it louder for the people in the back. We got research to prove it, that it matters, right? And the interesting thing is some of those same folks that are attacking DEI are saying, but we want everybody to feel like they belong. And that's where I come in on belonging. And I always go in on belonging. I'm like, we don't feel like we belong. And you just said that. You literally said that they didn't feel like they belong. But then they got into this program and they did.
Yeah.
Right. And the program did make them feel different and felt like they wanted to get back to the community and speak Spanish and all these things, right? That like powerful outcomes. So thank you for that, because I think we need to say it louder and double down at this point of like, these programs matter to our students, right? And if these are, I mean, Sara, you talked about it in the beginning, these are the students that are going to enroll. Right? This is the future of higher education, is Latine students, is Spanish speaking students, is multilingual students, right? Like, is students of color. And if we want to continue to thrive as institutions in general, we're going to make sure that these populations are thriving as well.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that. Yeah, that was beautiful. So Dimas, you're going to talk to us about, also you'll have a living learning community, a Latine focused living learning community.
Yes. So over the spring break last year, I got the opportunity to go with our housing and residence life. We had a spring break trip where we traveled to New Mexico, Texas, El Paso. It was El Paso,
Austin.
Austin, New Mexico, and Albuquerque. And yeah, I believe we traveled there, and I got the privilege to visit the University of Texas at Austin and kind of get some of the work that they're doing on the housing side of things. And when I got back, I told Dr. Mata, I was like, they had all these LLCs that are centered around majors. And we have that here at Wichita State. We have living learning communities that are centered around majors, but we were lacking in the identity department. So we saw the data and the results that we got from our summer bridge program at Herencia. And we said, how can we recreate this on a larger scale for students already on campus? So we were able to see that what the importance was about being surrounded with people who look like us, who speak the same language as we do. So I talked with Dr. Mata, and I was like, well, we can do this with housing for all our incoming students, our freshman students. We can recreate this. We can do the same processes that we did. I mean, obviously, we won't be teaching them in class because they'll have their own coursework, but we said we can do everything else that we did with Herencia, because we know that in our community, it's important to be surrounded by people who look like us, who speak like us. Because I mean, we've all been at the store and oh, you speak Spanish? Oh my God. And then, well, girl, we're talking 30 minutes about something that has this off topic about what we're doing at the store. So the results that Herencia had on students. So we thought this could have the same effect on students already here. So our ultimate living learning community is centered around identity and culture. And how is it that we can get each other to support each other, not only with staff, but also with students? Because we as students know how important it is to be supported by each other. We can have support by staff, but it's more important and more beneficial to be supported by our peers, by the own students who we get to see every day. We talked about the LLC offers a connection with different Hispanic organizations on campus. I'm not sure if you guys have Halo out in California, but that's That's pretty big here in Wichita. We
Mm.
have different Halo organizations at universities down to the high school level. So we wanted to see how is it that we can connect those students who are in the learning community to different community members in Wichita and who look like them, who be able to offer support not only academically but personally. We all
Mhm.
have someone to talk to, be like, hey, I'm really struggling. I don't know what to do. We're offering them opportunities to get to talk to people who've been in their shoes,
Mhm.
who've been here on
Mhm.
campus. So the whole purpose of this Latina learning community was to connect them with people who've already done the work, who've already
Mhm.
from Wichita State, who were in that same class, who was doing that same grad application that you're going to get ready to do. So we wanted to be able to build community along in the LLC.
Okay. I love it.
So,
Yeah,
just
I
to
like.
kind of add,
Mhm.
so Dimas was talking about, they did an HSI tour for the housing. So he was
Okay.
intentional about HSI. Um, and so we haven't actually implemented the LLC. That will take place in the fall. So
Mm.
we also will be working with our Latine Faculty and Staff Association to kind of adopt the floor, just to be able to be a source. And you don't have to identify as being Latine. We just want to make sure that those who do sign up, we're talking about how we're promoting culture and we're promoting language. So we know that there's students who might want to major in Spanish and they want to have a place to be able to continue Spanish skills. We're not turning anybody away for if they don't check the box of being Hispanic, but we're very intentional about what the Floor Living Learning community will look like. It has been very supportive of all of the things that we are wanting to do and making this come to fruition. The faculty and staff, I
Mhm.
add that because we plan on doing like once a month different dinners that feature other different types of cuisine from like Latin American countries. So we have a plethora of different backgrounds of folks from Spain and Peru, and making sure that we're helping to educate even our students here who primarily do come from Mexico or have Mexican heritage, but that there's others who are
Mhm.
encompassing within the H, right?
Mhm. Yes, yes, for sure. I was wondering about that, if like what the H encompassed, right, in Kansas. It sounds like you've just answered that because it does matter, right? Like in different places. If y'all have listened to the episode of like in the Northeast, right, they really elevate that, like the Latinas in the Northeast, right, in Massachusetts and Rhode Island and Connecticut look very different, right, than let's say the Midwest or the West Coast. But yeah, culture in general, right at the core, right, can be very powerful. Good to hear all this stuff going on. I think the other thing that comes to mind, because these programs live, while the living learning community lives sort of intertwined with the academic side, right? But also wondering, Sarah, if you could talk about any ways y'all have engaged like faculty in some of this work.
Yeah. So my previous provost, who just retired in December, shout out to Shirley Lefevre. She was very intentional about when my position came to fruition that I was also part of the faculty. So I have a faculty role in the student affairs higher education, and then 75% I'm in academic affairs. And so, but I think her idea was that, oh, you're as faculty, you have a better insight into faculty. And so I spent a majority of my career teaching and practitioner work. And so for me, that's very important because everything revolving around being culturally relevant and then the practices. And so I have been very intentional about a lot of the workshops, the professional development, the trainings, the things that we're doing to help to enhance our faculty's pedagogy around thinking about how you can shift maybe how you've always done things, right? Or how you can be more inclusive in the ways in which you are practicing some of the ways that you set up your syllabus or how you provide feedback. And so we have a program that we have worked with the APLU around the student experience project. And so that has focused in like 4 different areas. And it's been great for me to be able to introduce some of these concepts about wise feedback and helping our faculty to be more identity safety within their syllabi. How are they making sure that they're inclusive? And so that has been what of a framework to be able to help our faculty to think about how they might be enriching their practices for for our students. And so I work closely with a lot of my VP or the AVP for student success and persistence, and helping student success and student success. He has a very long title, but we do a lot of work around some of the helping, like high DF courses. What can we do to help our faculty to be more intentional about some of the practices? We're not saying that faculty are responsible for why there might be high DFs, but how can we help to increase the ways and knowledge of serving our students, and how you might be able to reach students in different ways, especially those who are coming in? How can we help with technology pieces and that type of thing? So faculty, we know, are instrumental in how we're helping to encourage and thinking about having conversations and reaching out to faculty, changing that faculty are here, students are down here, and more of a way in which our faculty are supporting our students, which there is a great culture of that. But we know that faculty can build those relationships with students to help them to get involved with research, or help them to think about what other opportunities and careers and networking, like, oh, I have a fraternity brother who is, up north, and he was hosting this program, and potentially you could go and be a part of that. Like those things, we want students to feel a sense of that faculty are obtainable to have conversations like that. And so we work with the student side of it, but also helping our faculty to be more reachable, to helping them to, you're a person too, and letting your students know that, things you might be struggling with, it's okay to not feel like you have to not share that you're a human, or that you're dealing with, all the things that we're balancing. So holistically working with faculty is really important to the work I've been doing.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds like interesting way that your position was set up too, intentionally, right? Around, okay, we got to make sure you have access to, I would say, both sides of the house, right? We know there's multiple sides of a university house, but the academic and student affairs side, right, are two different sides we think about traditionally, right? So tell us a little bit about your position and the importance of having you in an executive director role advocating for HSIs.
Yeah, that I think has been, being in a position that is not buried in other roles, right? Like it's right up at the top, in the sense of, I've always had really good relationships with our provost. We have a new provost to work with, who's from the California area. So I think has had some understanding of HSI.
Yes.
And so being able to make sure that it's taken seriously. And I have a lot of people, as I mentioned, being an emerging HSI, and we're trying to help to support other institutions who are in the same boat, which is a lot of institutions here in Kansas. Our only HSIs in the state are community colleges. And that, again, doesn't necessarily mean that they are doing HSI work. They just have the students in some of the cases. And so, I'll have people like, oh, we want to do a similar role to what your role is. How do we set this up? And I'm like, do not, making sure that you have direct lines to people who can make decisions about what's happening at the university.
Yes.
That's really important. And I'm so grateful for the other EDs of HSI throughout the colleagues and community I've built. Shout out to Manny and Yudi and Kathy in New Jersey. Like, they have been so instrumental in helping me to know how to navigate the different, you talk about how academia or how the university is set up. Sometimes there are strategic ways in which you just have to learn how to maneuver. And having other EDs has been so formative in how I'm like, okay, are you guys experiencing this? How do we do this? And so even just having a group chat and to be able to say, hey, especially with everything that's happening and, what's going to be our HSI future look like, we are being able to have these conversations in ways. And I think knowing that I know that I am the only one currently in the state of Kansas who is an ED and who is at this level, having other colleagues in different states and who are doing and going through similar growing pains has been beneficial for making me feel validated and normal to some extent.
Yes. Oh yeah, Yuri's on my list in Utah, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she's on my list. She on my list too. I gotta get her on the pod too. But I visited them too, and I was same thing. I think it was the same semester I visited y'all. I went to Kansas and Utah. I was like, look at HSIs hitting the middle of the country, and it was cool, right, to see like this good work going on in the middle of the country, right, in the Midwest and in important places where we need to be doing this work. So.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, this has been such a beautiful conversation. Thank you all for joining me. Before we get out, you got to answer the final question. ¿Qué pasa, HSIs? The title of the show is a question. So how do you respond to that? ¿Qué pasa, HSIs? Valeria, we'll let you go first.
I would say for me, it would be to, I think I said earlier, I love to say that we have to lift as we climb, right? Like that has been I think my whole kind of goal in my college journey and also with the Herencia program. Like I see that as like, yes, like I have gotten to the space where I am, but I don't want to be where I am because I got lucky or because I just happen to know the right people. I want to make sure that students get to where I am too with the right resources. And so I want to encourage other universities, other spaces to keep doing the same and to keep having those opportunities for their students and empower them and so that they can see themselves in those spaces and be like, I can be that one day.
Yes. Dimas, ¿qué pasa, HSIs?
So for me, I think we're getting in now. This year is very uncertain for us HSIs and eHSIs. So I think just give students grace. I mean, for some universities, we might be just a number, but we're students. We're also have news. We also have access to the news, so we see what's going on with the freeze on government funded grants and everything. So just be kind to each other. Be more supportive to one another, and just try to uplift everybody in the EHSI world or the HSI world.
Oh, I love it. Sarah, final question. ¿Qué pasa, HSIs?
I've been fired up, and so I think just stay vigilant. Like we didn't even talk about immigration. We know how it impacts so many of our communities and how hard it is for us to look as the way we do in spaces like this, but stay vigilant, stay passionate for the work and for the students. No matter what, they can't take that away from us.
Absolutely. And that's what's up. Thank you all for joining me on ¿Qué pasa, HSIs?
Thank you.